at the funk.
Could you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep. Could you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep. Could you stop? Could you stop? I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to.
Let's look at the funk.
What's up? What's going on? Good evening, friends old and new. Welcome to Let's Listen on the bonus stage. Today we are graced by the brooding and very sharp-looking, nice camera, better than me, Mark Schimmelbusch. Dude, what's going on, man? Holy crap! I'm gonna pee my pants here, live for everyone to enjoy. What's going on, man?
Thank you, Josh, so much for having me on. Everything is going on. Lots of emotions, lots of excitement. So yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about. During the pre-show, it was kind of funny. Like when I showed up wearing this getup, and you were like, "Oh, I gotta match this." So so now we're at least kind of on the same level, and we set the mood straight.
Wow, well, I'm happy to hear that you think that I am matching your current level, because I feel like I look a little goofy compared to you, but that's okay. This is your album, man. This is your element that we're gonna be exploring, and this is gonna be something that you're very passionate about. So I just kind of feel like I'm here to like put you up on the pedestal, and then you can just shine your dark glory upon all of us. Yeah, really.
Dark glory. I've never heard that. I mean, I've gotten some comments about my personality. Dark glory is a new one, so
cool.
I'll be sure to keep that one in my back pocket.
Yeah, hold on to that one. Yeah, that's yours to keep, man. Sweet, dude. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a good chance that people here know a little bit about you, but why don't you just start fresh and tell us a little bit about yourself and about your work as a VGM artist.
Yeah, thanks. So I actually, so I guess we'll have to go back a while. I first got exposed to VGM when I first heard the mini bosses, like in the early 2000s, and that goes back a ways. And I was like, wow, there's actually like artists in a band out there that does video game music. And even back then, like, I've always appreciated VGM, but I didn't really understand like how much it hit home for me until I heard the mini bosses, at least until I heard Metroid Metal after that. So Metroid Metal was the big ear and eye opener for me, and all of these years I had actually never met Stemage until very recently. I met him just at the beginning of this month in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
So I totally fanboyed over him and everything, and I just couldn't tell him enough about how much like he influenced me. But anyway, so I didn't really get into trying to record my own stuff until about 2017, and Eric Peabody, Viking Guitar, was kind of, he was and still is my my mentor and my sensei when it comes to just recording and audio production. And he mixed and mastered my first EP, which was it was called World Warriors. I dedicated it to a friend of mine who passed on. But it was like it was a lot of the games that we played together as kids, and then I blended them with like classic rock and metal songs. And they were kind of like all these like little mashups. So that was kind of like my entry into the quote unquote scene. Then I did a full album. Eric has been involved in every single project that I've done, and that was my first full album was the first one that I mixed myself, and I got some validation from Eric saying like, yes, you did an awesome job. I'll do the mastering. And he and I have been working together ever since. And obviously he was a part of this one in more ways than one. There were many people involved in this album, which we're going to get to. He did the mastering, obviously. He helped me with the mixing, but he also did some of the backup choir vocals, and you're all going to hear that later on. So, so I think the last thing I'll say here is that I've never really put myself out there until now. Like I've always kind of had this imposter syndrome of, you know, like there's so many amazing artists out there, and it's like I can't stand on the same level as them. But I said to myself at the beginning of the year, like regardless of what happens, like I'm going to put myself out there more. So here I am in this getup, but with an album that I'm very proud of.
Heck yeah, dude, and by all means, you definitely should be proud of it. Welcome, Rashid.
Yes, Rashid's a buddy of mine. Hey, Rashid.
Awesome, right on. And Dungeons and Drag Queens, heck yeah.
Yeah, that's another buddy of mine. What's up, man? Yeah, his name is amazing, by the way.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that sounds like a show I want to see. But in terms of things that I haven't seen, I have never played Bloodborne. I've never played Dark Souls. I'm just a complete pleb on this side of things. Obviously, you're the expert here in the room, well, the quote-unquote room, given the fact that you've decided to dedicate countless hours putting together a concept album for it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Bloodborne, what it means to you, and kind of like where you came from putting together this album?
So I think I have to definitely give a shout out to Dungeons and Drag Queens here, because he's a longtime friend of mine, and he got me into Dark Souls. I think he did it purely to torture me in the beginning, and that is almost 10 years ago now. Dark Souls came out 10 years ago in 2011. And of course, when I first played the game, I was extremely frustrated, and it made me very mad. But then I was like, no, this game is not going to beat me. I'm going to beat this game. And I played it at his place over a few weekends, and I couldn't beat it. But then eventually I got the game on my own, and I beat it. And then I was hooked on the entire series at that point. So, fast forward to Bloodborne, and which for me is my favorite of the entire Soulsborne series. And it's obviously same director, same team that did all the Souls games, but it's quite a bit different than the others in terms of obviously the story and the universe and the mechanics and things like that. But I think one thing that people who are fans of the game know, that the lore of it is very, very deep, and it can get very complicated. It's a very character-driven story, and for me, besides the gameplay, like once I really started understanding the lore, I was like, wow, this is a big universe, and there's so many different intricacies of what's happening and who is who and what the relationships are. So I probably won't be able to do the whole thing justice as I talk through this. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a lore expert. I know enough to be dangerous.
There's YouTube channels for that shit.
Yes, there are YouTube channels for that. So we'll get to. I think this might be a good place to start with. Like as we go through the album, we listen to the songs and we take breaks. Before we get into the next block, I'll kind of tell everybody like, here's where we are in the story. So we can kind of all follow. Obviously, this is almost all instrumentals, and I said, hey, I'm going to do a concept album that's all instrumentals. Is that taboo? Is that even allowed? It's like, there's not a lot of rules in music, and instrumental concept albums do exist. So anyway, we'll just do a very, very quick overview of the lore. I call it's a concept album, so it is the music in the game is meant to follow the story from a chronological perspective. So when you start playing the game, you're kind of already in the middle of the story, and the backstory you learn by playing the game and interacting with characters and items and things like that. So the album starts at the beginning, which is basically there's this group of scholars of this school called Bergenworth. And these scholars find this ancient civilization in the set of dungeons, and this ancient civilization were, I guess, coexisted with the Great Ones. And the Great Ones were kind of these higher level beings that could reach ascension and just reach a higher plane of being. But immortality, that's one theory, is what they're trying to reach. So the scholars, they find the old blood as in this ancient civilization, and there's like this kind of these two factions develop between the master of the school, which is Willem, and one of his students, Laurence. Willem thinks that he can reach ascension by through insight and knowledge, but Laurence disagrees and thinks that he can use the old blood to reach the same end. So I think I'll kind of stop there because we're going to get more into the story as we get through all the listening and all that. But yes, I decided to call the album The Old Blood because it is a pretty recognizable. Yeah, yes. So Colbert says in the chat, "Fear the old blood." I think most Bloodborne fans like kind of use that as secret code to talk to each other. I guess that's one way of looking at it. But that's exactly what Willem said to Laurence as Laurence was leaving, and he said, I'm going to pursue ascension in my own way. But then, one of Willem's parting shots or parting piece of advice was fear the old blood, and that leads to another whole set of events, and we'll get to that.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we kick things off here with the music portion, are there any other people that you want to shout out, or should we just kind of like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then thanks for reminding me. So there were many people involved in this, and when I say many, I think more than usual. Like most of the time, it's just me and maybe a couple other people. So again, Eric, Viking guitar, he did the mastering, he did backup choir vocals. He said a lot of nice things to me, which I still remember about how he thought how good this was, and that I felt proud of it when this was over. But just hearing that from him, like, really meant a lot. And his help and mentorship through the past 4 or 5 years have been absolutely invaluable. Also, let's talk about Chris. Chris of the Runaway 4.
Definitely.
He had a pretty big role in this. He credit goes to Eric for this. He referred me to Chris saying like, "Hey, you're doing these choir vocals. Like, did you know Chris from the Runaway 4 does choir vocals?" I was like, "No." So I hit him up. We start talking. I say, "Hey, can you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can do that." And once I got his choir vocals back, like I had the other choir vocals already recorded between me, Eric, and another additional shout out, my buddy Charles, who also did backup choir vocals. So the three of us had our vocals recorded already. And when Chris sent me his vocals, I was like, that is amazing. So I started pushing everybody down into more of a backup role, and Chris was more out front. And just so everybody knows, when you hear male choir vocals in this, it's mostly Chris because he just sounds so good.
He sings in a pretty prestigious choir out here in Vancouver as well.
Yeah, he told me all about it. No, not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but not long after I finished the project, he ended up in Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, and I didn't even know he was going to be there. I was like, "Oh my God! Like you just worked with me on this album, and I'm meeting you in the flesh." So that was so cool. There's Rocky. Hey, what's up, Rocky? He's a buddy of mine. That's a rock drummer in the chat.
Nice.
And then one other very, very important person is Terracy Music. When I got done with the arrangements, I said, I need somebody who can play violin, and I need a female vocalist that can do solo vocals, and she can do both. So yep. I was like, she's a really good fit for this project. I hit her up, and within like a day, she signed up. She's like, yes, I want to do this. And when we get into the first, I'm just reading the chat. When we get into the first track, you're going to hear Tara right away just open up and just crush everybody with her vocals. And I'm kind of already spoiling it, but she did an amazing job, and you'll definitely hear her throughout with solo vocals and violin. The other person that I'll one quick shout out, he's not in the VGM scene at all. Is the artist. He goes by Suck Zero, which is kind of an interesting name, but he's not in the VGM scene, and I've actually worked with him many times. And when I worked with him on this project, I definitely had to kind of explain like what Bloodborne is and what I want the mood to be, because he had no idea. He had no idea what this game is. He has no idea about what the music is. But once I kind of gave him enough guidance, he brought this artwork to bear. And yeah, thank you for showing it in the stream right now. It is freaking amazing. And I'm sure we'll talk about Bandcamp and all that, but the art is part of physical CDs, so those are available. But yeah, he just did a really amazing job, and I think that's it. Everyone had a very everyone involved in this just did such an awesome job, and I'm just super proud of them and the product that we made. Yeah,
Definitely. And I wholeheartedly agree. It's like fantastic work from everybody involved so far. Shall we kick it off then? Do we want to shut up and maybe put on some tunes for a little while here?
Yeah, we've been going for about 15 minutes. It's time for tunes. Let's do it.
Cool, folks. Well, we're just going to be listening to the first two tracks. This is OMEN and Overture YHARNAM. Am I pronouncing that right? YHARNAM.
Yes, YHARNAM. I actually didn't explain what YHARNAM is, but YHARNAM is the city that LAURENCE went to find this church that gave old blood to a lot of people, and it just made everything bad. So we'll come back to that.
Awesome. Okay, well, here it is, everyone. Enjoy. We're not worthy. All that jazz, dude. Killer way to open it.
Well, you are too kind, sir.
I get by.
So one thing I wanted to mention was yeah, thanks everybody in the chat. Overture Yarnam is mostly original stuff. There's a couple parts in there where it borrows from some of the songs, but I kind of wanted to do something where I wrote original sections. I did like 80% of it was original. But yeah, that was something where obviously being through two songs, you can kind of hear all the orchestral elements, which is definitely new for me. Like I said, if I was going to do a Bloodborne album, I wanted to kind of include strings and a horn section and all that stuff. And I don't know anything about how an orchestra performs or like all that stuff. I kind of learn on the fly. So, and we can talk more about that later. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the. So, one thing I forgot to talk about was I divided the album into chapters.
Yeah.
So what we just heard was chapter 1, and it is really just kind of like the. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. We're still in the middle of chapter 1. This is kind of like the prologue. Yeah. I had to look at my notes to remember this. So chapter 1 is basically like, kind of the opening prologue, and you get introduced to a couple key characters, that are integral to the story. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So then there's not too much more lore to talk about with those particular tracks so far.
So for the first two, OMEN and Overture YHARNAM, no, those are just kind of like in the actual game. OMEN is the you hear it on the title screen, and then Overture YHARNAM is just kind of like an introduction to the rest of the album. So this is where the lore actually begins. And I've mentioned Laurence. So Laurence is the student of Willem who leaves Bergenworth to basically reach ascension by ministering or using the old blood, which they found in this ancient civilization. So he goes to Yharnam, he finds the healing church, and their church becomes this very powerful entity because they have the old blood, and people come from all over the place to get treated for sicknesses and illnesses, and the old blood cures them. But what eventually happens is that the people start turning into beasts, which is bad.
Yeah.
And it's theoretically the ancient civilization that they found succumbed to the exact same problem. So Laurence, and the other thing about this Laurence and a lot of the other character songs that you're going to hear, they're all kind of sad, and at least that's the way they sound to me. And like it kind of makes sense because they're these tragic characters. Like Laurence obviously it just has this kind of he wants to pursue ascension and power, but he ends up turning into a beast himself, like a hideous beast, and he's basically like this tragic character, like kind of like Icarus. He flies too close to the sun, and it's kind of the same for Ludwig. Ludwig was one of the first hunters of the healing church who basically tried to rid the beastly scourge, which just meant just going out and killing beasts, which were once people. Kind of the same story for him. He turns into this like weird horse wolf thing, and anybody who's played Bloodborne and fought Ludwig knows just how much of a weird, unsettling boss he is, and he's also very unforgiving to fight. And anybody knows the Souls games have a reputation for being difficult, and I just remember that was a boss fight I got hung up on a lot. But I think that's so just a couple notes about the songs coming up next. Laurence is you're gonna see a video for Laurence.
Right, yeah.
It won't just be an audio track, so everybody will get to see a video for Laurence. You'll hear the male choir for the first time. So again, it's myself, my buddy Charles, Chris from the Runaway 4, and Eric. So we'll all be up in the vocals coming up in this next section. So let's go.
All right, let's go. Yeah, we got 3 tracks coming up. We got Laurence, the first Vicar, Ludwig the Accursed, and Ludwig the Holy Blade. Sweet. Enjoy, folks. We'll see you on the other side.
tell you I will not forget our adage. Fear the old blood.
Yeah, yeah, Gojira, Devin Townsend. What else was in there? Lots of references and definitely some tributes as well. Dude, that was epic. Like 3 songs. I'm trying to think of like what to comment on first. I mean, first up, I guess the video production on your videos, dude. Yeah, like seriously, good job on all of that. It was very brooding
Thank you.
And atmospheric. And you do that all mostly yourself too, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty much just me and a tripod. So, yeah, the thing about the Laurence video, obviously with all the candles, I had to try really hard not to set myself on fire because I had this on, and to get the right lighting, I had to get close to the candles. So it's like I'm not sure. It's like, oh god, it's like if I set myself on fire right now, there's nobody here to help me. I did have a fire extinguisher nearby, which I think I know how to use. Okay, we probably shouldn't talk about this. Those were, and I love that Masochist in chat called out that he was getting Gojira vibes from that. Yeah, the last section of Ludwig the Holy Blade was total Gojira. I would like to think that some of my biggest influences in mostly in metal, have made their way into this album in some way. So you definitely heard some Megadeth type stuff, some Lamb of God type stuff.
Yep.
Opeth. Obviously we mentioned Gojira, but we've got some other songs coming up that kind of may branch out a little bit. I'll mention that as we get closer to it. But that is as far as the album the album story goes. Mm-hmm. That is the end of chapter 1. So that kind of covers the kind of the prologue and like 2 of the big characters who are pivotal to the story. Like the thing about Ludwig is like you kind of learn about him a little bit as you play the game, and he's obviously a boss. But a lot of the characters in the story have backstory that you learn throughout. So now we're at chapter 2. So chapter 2, and I want to make sure that I am getting this right. So chapter 2 is basically like the main game. You're a hunter who comes to Yharnam to receive the old blood for whatever reason. That's not really made clear. Maybe you're sick. Who knows? But basically, this is the game itself. Like you're a hunter. You're hunting the beasts, and you're fighting all these bosses. Why you're doing these things is a little bit of a deeper thing. So, but I think we do need to talk about it a little bit. So, when you receive the old blood and your surgery or whatever is over, you get killed and you end up in something called the Hunter's Dream. And the Hunter's Dream is overseen by someone named Gurman. He was the first hunter of the Hunter's Workshop. It was like yet another faction that went and hunted beasts in the night. And you get bound to this dream, and you get sent out from the dream to hunt beasts. Why you're doing these things and what the motivation is behind all that is something that we're going to explain later. But so that's kind of where the story sits. So you're basically fighting bosses until you kind of get through to the end, and to drive you insane and make you rage quit. Yeah, I'm sure many controllers have been broken in all of the in many Soulsborne playthroughs. So in terms of the music you're going to hear next, you'll hear Cleric Beast, Bloodstarved Beast, and Amygdala. Definitely more male vocals coming up, and yes, Tara showed up in the chat. So thanks for showing Tara. I said in the chat I sang your praises earlier. You're definitely gonna hear Tara again, not just yet. She shows up again more towards the end of the album with some violin and some more solo vocals. Yeah, so we got Cleric Beast. You'll see the choir again, the male choir. Bloodstarved Beast, in my opinion, is the heaviest song on the album, and it's also the most unsettling. It just has like all this dissonance, and it has a 5/4 time signature, which I love. I love the 5/4 time signature. And Amygdala like ended up being like kind of more of this like kind of slow groove kind of a deal. So we'll let everybody hear it.
Awesome, and we got 2 videos coming up for Cleric Beast and Bloodstarved Beast as well, don't we?
Oh yes, one thing thanks for reminding me of that. The Cleric Beast video, which you'll be playing, is a premiere. No one has seen it before. I will publish it on YouTube probably tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. But the Bloodstarved Beast video I put out a couple weeks ago, the Cleric Beast video, no one has ever seen. So everyone here will be seeing the Cleric Beast video for the first time.
World premiere, awesome. All right, everyone, enjoy. And we're back, dude. Yeah, that's kind of the meat right there, I think.
Yeah, there's some real beef, especially in that last section of Amygdala. I think when I was arranging that section, I was like, what can I do to just make this as like chuggish as possible? And that's what we ended up with. So yeah, I saw Rocky Drummer, a friend of mine. He was like, can we talk about your tones for a little bit?
Yes.
So yeah, this could be like total nerdery, like talking about tones. But I think
break
that
down
the real
your signal chain, man. Come on.
Yeah. So this was surprisingly enough. Well, let's start with the real MVP, in my opinion, is that solar. Well, I'm pointing over there, which is where my solar guitar is hanging.
Oh, okay.
So the black solar guitar that you see me playing in the videos, like to me, that's the real MVP of the tone, at least for the guitar tone. But one thing that Eric taught me is that like guitar tone is only like it really only matters this much when it comes to like a full mix. But at least I get really great guitar tone out of that, especially lead. Like I feel like I've been searching for years to get a lead tone that I really liked, and I feel like I finally got it. I used all amp sims for this. Like for previous projects, I have a real amp and I mic'd it up, and that's always been good. But then I was like, let's try some amp sims. So I've really been using a lot of neural DSP stuff. And I used Nolly for both my lead and rhythm tones, and I use Dark Glass for my bass tone. And that the bass you see me playing in all those videos is an Ibanez that I got a few months ago, and I love that thing. It just sounds so good. And then the drums, which it took me a long time to feel like I figure out how I can mix drums and make them just sound really beefy and just get like a nice fat snare with a lot of presence. And yeah, obviously it's all MIDI. It was just finding the right samples. But again, Eric just taught me, it was like, hey, you got to get your low end right. And I'm sure people who mix their own stuff or our producers and stuff, they know what I'm talking about, like getting the low end right, especially in those chuggish songs, and making everything fit when there's so much. That was the other thing, like getting stuff to fit and sound clear with not heavy drums, bass,
everything,
guitars, and then all the orchestral stuff. I was like, holy crap, like how am I even gonna mix this? That was one of the things that almost made me quit. When at the beginning of the year when I started working on this, I was like, hey, let's start working on this. Okay, this arrangement's kicking my ass. And then I got to mixing later, and I was like, this stuff just sounds like garbage. But with enough persistence, I figured it out, and Eric validated it. So there we go. There's our tone talk for the day.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah, that's always welcome here. Lots of nerds view this channel and are apparently in chat currently. So yeah, you're amongst friends. Cool. What do we need to catch up on in terms of the storyline here so far?
Yeah, so we're still in chapter 2, and hopefully Tara's around still, because you're going to hear Tara on this next song. You'll hear her violin playing for the first time. So the next 3 songs are Lullaby for Murgo, Living Failures, and Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower. Okay, Tara's still out there. This goes back to what I talked about earlier with like why you're bound to the dream and you're being sent out to hunt stuff. This is another rabbit hole, but Murgo is a great one that was born of another great one, and that's a whole other thing. But basically, there's this great one inside the hunter's dream called the Moon Presence, who is basically like kind of controlling Garamond, and Garamond is forever bound to the dream. And he's we're gonna get to Garamond again later, but the Moon Presence is basically manipulating him and you to go out and kill Murgo. Why is not super clear in the lore. He's got the Moon Presence has some kind of beef with Murgo, so that's all you really need to know for this conversation. So the one thing I'll mention about this, when I was talking about my musical influences, I feel like Typo Negative creeped into this one, and for anybody who's heard Typo Negative, they'll know it when they hear it. So Living Failures and Lady Maria are DLC bosses, and taking on Lady Maria was a daunting task, not only because the song is inherently complicated, but I think there is a I see Cold Brew in the chat. I think there's a lot of fandom for Lady Maria. Like she's a very minor character, like lore wise there's some more to her, but it is a super cool boss fight, super epic music, She's just a total badass, like total badass. And and then when I listened to the song again when I was trying to arrange this, I was like, I don't think I want to do this one. Like I have to live up to it, but it's also just complicated. Like it's I couldn't figure out like what the melody was in the beginning, but I stuck with it and eventually came up with the arrangement you're about to hear. So let's go.
Let's do it. All right, folks, here we go. Yeah, yeah, I think you did, Lady
Yeah.
Maria, some justice there. For a plebeian like myself, maybe describe what that boss battle is like and why it's so fun.
Yeah, well, I don't know about fun. It's yet another a boss fight that is difficult, but no surprise there. But yeah, it's called Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower. So you fight her in the Astral Clock Tower, which is just a super cool setting. Obviously, it's an arena, but it just the environment itself is so epic. But like when you go in there, like she's just kind of like sitting calmly in a chair, and like she slowly gets up, and she's like, "All right, let's go." And it just turns into this epic fight. And I think, if I remember correctly, chat may have to keep me honest, but I think it has 3 different phases. And of course, she becomes more powerful, and her weapons like just have like this crazy reach with all this like bloody stuff on it. It is just a crazy epic fight. And just by virtue of her being so badass, I think that's why there's just so much there's so much of a fandom of this one character, which you never really see her, or there's really no backstory on her until you actually go to that boss fight. So just the fact that she even though she plays like this small part in the game, but has like such a big following, is very recognizable, and there's so much fan art on her, just really says a lot.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Dude. Fuck. And the other 2 tracks too. The Lullaby for Murgo, that was oh, yeah, super chilling, and love that you have just like this intense heavy part, like kind of bookend with the bookends of the glockenspiel on either side too.
Yeah, actually, yeah, here it is. Yeah, this is the glockenspiel that I used.
Oh, baby's first
for-
xylophone.
Yeah. No, I've actually used this for 3 different songs in my catalog. So yeah, that thing is super reliable. And obviously, but I mean, it worked for this. It just kind of has this creepy sound, and it was once I threw some delay and reverb on it, I was like, oh yeah, this is the mood that I want. So yeah, that's what I love about doing this stuff, is there's really no creative boundaries. You just come up with ideas and you go. Okay, so that is the lore-wise and album-wise, that is the end of chapter 2, and we are on the home stretch. So, the last, the third chapter, which is just called "The Dream," is 2 songs. So you're gonna hear Terra on both of these. So you'll hear some really good violin in Gehrman, the First Hunter, and then some of her vocals again, and I want to leave the closing of this to the I won't spoil it, but anyway, at this point, you have in the game you have hunted and killed Murgo. Your purpose has pretty much been fulfilled. Gehrman's basically offers you, and this is where the game has 3 possible endings, and it's kind of up to your own interpretation of what ending is like good, bad, or great, whatever. So for the album, I picked the album that I personally, or I picked the ending that I personally like the best. So when the dream starts collapsing, Gehrman basically says, I can kill you and free you from the dream. And if he does, he decapitates you, but you don't actually die. You wake up from the dream, and the sun comes up over Yharnam, which is kind of like you can feel conflicted about it. It's like you died, but you basically have been freed. So that may be the good ending. Who knows? But then the best ending is where you fight Gehrman and you defeat him, and the moon presence appears and basically tries to embrace you to get you to take his place, so that you take Gehrman's place and you oversee the dream and you guide hunters going out into the world doing whatever, like continuing to hunt. So I guess in could be the best ending is you fight off the moon presence and you kill it, and then you ascend to greatness. You become a great one.
Yeah, you just climb that corporate ladder, man, all the way to the top.
Just climb the corporate ladder. It's like all you had to do was kill like 20 bosses and defeat the moon presence. I mean, it's no big deal, right? But anyway, for the album, the ending I picked is where you beat Gehrman, but the moon presence takes you over and you take Gehrman's place, and you're like sitting in his wheelchair and everything. And it's also kind of a sad ending, but I personally like that one the best. So so Gehrman the First Hunter is also, I think, the most it's almost like borderline depressing. It's pretty sad, and it kind of makes sense. Gehrman is trapped, like he is trapped in this dream, and he has no way of getting out. So it just him being there for who knows how long. Like he just gets driven almost to the point of insanity. So the song on its own is pretty much of a downer, but I try to liven it up a little bit. You'll hear it. The one thing I'll mention is the beginning of this song is an original section. It's not part of the actual song itself, but I shamelessly stole the idea from an Opeth song. So big surprise there. And then the last song, which is just called Bloodborne, is what plays during the credit roll. So and then that will be the end.
Yeah, and then we'll all pack up our tools and go home. Yeah, awesome. All right. Yeah.
Well,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, before we get to the final two songs, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Of course, I will thank everybody again as we after we're done, because I can't thank everybody enough for being here and just enjoying and saying all the nice things that I've been seeing in chat. This was a hell of a ride to put this together. So let's go.
Definitely. All right. Here we go. I don't know, man. What am I supposed to say now? What how do we end this thing? What the fuck?
So here's what I will say. So I talked about at the beginning when I was looking for somebody to do female vocals and play violin, and I reached out to Tara, and she signed on pretty quick. But one of the things I asked right up front was, can you hit a C6, which you heard at the very end as she was closing it out.
Yep.
And she basically said, I can do a D6. And I interpreted that as like, hold my beer. So she's like, I can do a C6. And then she recorded that. And when I heard it raw, I was like, holy crap. And then when I mixed it, I was like, oh my God, I'm like dead. I am literally dead. It's so good. So yeah, again, I've said it so many times, but I can't emphasize enough how much all the people involved who jumped on board with me on this crazy journey to make this album just absolutely killed it and did an amazing job. So again, shout outs all around for Tara, for Chris on Chris. Let's go through the whole thing. Tara for solo vocals, violin, and Chris for choir vocals. My buddy Charles, Viking guitar. And I guess me, if you want to throw me in
I was
there
going to
for
say, don't
backup
forget
choir
yourself
vocals.
here, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, like Eric again for the mastering and just helping me with mixed feedback. And then, of course, I cannot forget Suck Zero, who again not in the VGM scene, but did all of the killer art. And let's make sure we close on this.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Let's rope him in. Like bring him into the fold here, man. Let's give him some Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Eric wanted to be here, obviously, but he went to a Gojira show, and I think that's a pretty good choice. So anyway, thank you for plugging the album link in the chat, Josh. But here is the physical CD which you recommended. Hopefully, we can get the camera to focus on it. There we go. Yeah. So the one cool thing I like about this is let me get this out of here. Like this is the actual CD. So anybody, come on, camera, focus for me. Yeah. There we go. So that's the actual CD. That was a last second design decision, but I thought that was pretty neat, and it looks really cool. And yeah, and then here's the back. Come on, camera, focus again. Yeah, and you can see I was talking about how we divided things into chapters, and so yeah, that is the physical CD. So it is available along with digital copies, and of course Josh will probably help me out. I also bought the one thing I forgot to mention too is I bought a domain name for this album. It's theoldblood.com.
Oh, what?
So yeah, so. Yeah, obviously the Bandcamp link is great, but if anybody goes to theoldblood.com, it'll just redirect you to my Bandcamp. So and I plan on holding on to that domain name for a while. Maybe it'll be worth something someday. So
awesome, dude. Do you have any plans to put it on like any other like streaming platforms, things like that?
Yes, it will be on Spotify in about 3 weeks. That takes a while. So, but yes, obviously the only place you can get it right now is on Bandcamp, but it will be available on Spotify. So once it's there, of course, I will tweet out about it, and you can add that to your evil playlists. And if you don't have one, you can make one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got 3 days before like you've missed the season for it. So yeah, definitely get on that, everybody. Yeah, dude. Well, what's next? I know. I mean, like, you usually want to like spend a little time and just bask in the glory, bask in your own dark glory. But I'm sure people in the VGM scene never seem to sit still for long. So what do you got? What do you got going up next?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So a good friend of mine has a Twitch stream he has for a long time, but he just recently started a talk show, and I was like, can I come on your show? Like, can I talk about my album? And he was like, yeah, you can come on the show and talk about the album, man. So yes, on October 30th, I will be on his channel, and yeah, if you follow me on social media, you'll find out about that. But yeah, it'll be Saturday evening, and it'll be a kind of just it'll be more of talking, but I will do a live performance of one of my songs, which I'm super excited about. I've been working on the tech for it for a couple weeks now, and then you and I may cross paths again. Josh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I think I may have threatened to make you perform on Bonus Stage Ultimate coming up. Ultimate. No apologies for that title, but yeah, dude, we're gonna be super stoked to have you. Of course, we haven't announced and much about that yet. That's all under the way, but really looking forward to having you. Yeah, a little sad to hear it's not going to be your debut streaming performance, but but that's good. We'll let what's his nuts do all the tough checking and stuff, and then we'll get something that we know is going to be crisp. But yeah,
so
really looking forward to that.
Obviously, I'm super excited to perform for Bonus Stage, and obviously, hopefully, everybody comes out. Of course, yeah, I'll play some songs from this album, but I've got stuff farther back in the catalog that I would love to play for everybody. So I'm super looking forward to that. But thank you again, and thank you, Josh, and thank you everybody for showing up, for listening, and for those of you who picked up the album, whether physical or digital, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. I'm super proud of this work, and of course, all the shout outs that I gave to everybody who have been involved. So this was quite the. We had peaks and valleys as I was working on this, and I'd say we're at a pretty high peak right now. At least that's the way I feel. I am super proud of this work, and it for me, who's very self-critical, I think that says a lot. So thank you everybody for just kind of sharing this journey with me.
Absolutely, and thank you for your musical offering for us this evening and moving forward. Yeah, folks, thanks again for being here and sharing the joy of being in Mann's dark glory. Yeah, I'm gonna probably just kind of finish things up here. I do want to suggest a raid to my good friend Chris Mooman, who's currently running a trivia. Anybody who loves video game trivia will probably enjoy what he's got going on. Alan, you're probably like on both sides of the fence right now participating, but I definitely want to give him a little bit of attention because he just moved across the country and is kicking things back up over there. But yeah, Mark, super fun hanging out with you tonight. Thank you again for this awesome album and for asking me to help host your release party. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I'm gonna put on some inappropriate tunes for what we've been listening to so far tonight, and get that raid ready. Thank you so much, folks. Have a good night.
Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. Is that bonus stage van? Oh, it is. Oh gosh, golly gee. Oh my goodness. Oh, welcome everybody coming in from Bonus Stage's stream. I'm going to do a quick shout out to good old bonus stage. We got some new folks chatting here in chat. We got Nervous Soul. Wait, Nervous? Nervous? Wait. Nervous? Wait. Nerves? Nerves Solus? Nerve Solus? I don't know how to